Welcome back. I'm David Grossman. You're watching Keeping It Real. And I have with me here Michel Neray, marketing speaker and consultant. I'm having a lot of trouble. Well, you do a lot of things, Michel, so I'm having trouble remembering which one we're here to talk about.
I do a lot of things, but I really only do one thing.
Tell us, what is it?
The one thing I do, just the different ways that I apply it, but the one thing I do is I help my clients, whether they're individuals or corporations, I help them hone down to their core differentiation, what sets them apart in the market, because that is, I think, one of the most important things that any business can do, whether you're an individual real estate agent, advisor, or a large company. Is how do you position yourself? How do you differentiate yourself from everybody else who ostensibly is doing the same thing?
And that's what you call the essential message.
That is exactly what we call the essential message.
Right. So you help people to find that. And I know you have an MBA, and I remember from learning an MBA, we used to talk about that as people's core competency.
Well, it's a combination of their core competency. Some people will call it USP in marketing terms, unique selling proposition, unique value proposition, differentiator in the market, where the essential message is a little bit different from those. I mean, yeah, all of those things are critically important in how we differentiate ourselves, position ourselves in the market, how we identify the greatest value that we have to offer our customers and clients. And what the essential message does is it goes a little deeper than what most people would expect from a traditional marketing approach, because it can get a little personal. Okay. And it's especially important in businesses where there is a lot of competition, like real estate agents.
Very competitive.
There's so many real estate agents, and they're all saying basically the same things about themselves.
Yes.
So how do you communicate what sets me apart as an agent or a financial advisor or an insurance or whatever? There's accountant, lawyer. There's so many of these industries and sectors where we share the same thing on our business card.
What are they all saying about themselves?
Well, so interestingly enough, I've worked with real estate agents before, advisors, and here's I picked this one up on the web. So let me just read. It's a short bio. Go ahead. So Jessica specializes in listing and selling single-family homes, condominiums, and multi-unit buildings. Okay. Well, that sounds like everything to me, doesn't it?
That's true.
So I think most agents would love to, and I understand why. They're afraid to turn away some possible customers. Like if I don't say this, they'll think I don't do it, and they won't call me. But if everybody's thinking this way, then they're all saying the same things. Right.
Well, I know I recently invited the condo chicks to come on the show.
So
because
great example.
So it's, so they've chosen, and some real estate agents have chosen to specialize, in an area like that. But like you said, I guess others are, figure, well, why would I turn away business, right? But maybe if it's technically not that difficult to sell more than one type of property, then why should you?
Well, you can, and that's not the only way to specialize. In fact, that is the easiest way to specialize, and most marketers, I call myself a kind of a corporate archaeologist, because I have to dig down to their core differentiator.
Right.
And that's what I've got a model that I use called the 5 layers of differentiation. So that's the first couple of layers. Who do I do it for? What market do I do it in? And it could be a type of dwelling. It could be geographical market. It could be language market, ethnic market. Those are easy. But it's the bottom layers where it gets most interesting, most personal, and most powerfully impactful for how you differentiate yourself.
Okay. And tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I'll give you an example. I was working with one agent, and we were spending a half day. He had hired me to do what we call a half-day intensive to dig down to his core differentiator. And he kept on talking about how he was helping his clients find properties that either had or could be turned into having a secondary income or a rental portion of the property.
Right. That's
and
interesting.
So I was that's and that and now he was talking about this as if he wasn't even aware that he was doing it.
Right.
And in fact, that's exactly what it was. He wasn't. It came so naturally to him that he didn't even realize that he was doing this. And so I kept quizzing him about it, and I used my process to narrow down where he was doing it, how he was doing it, why he was so driven to do that in that way with his area of expertise that he had developed. And by the end of the session, he said, I never realized it, but pretty much everything I do has this spin on it.
Right.
And I asked him, do you talk about that on your website? Do you brand yourself in this way? And he looked at me, he said, no.
Okay.
And so I'm so glad that you were talking to Lisa earlier, because getting your message out to your public, to your potential markets, that's irreplaceable. You can have the best message in the world, and if you don't tell anybody about it, it's not going to do you much good. But likewise, you could be getting your message out to a lot of people, but if it doesn't position you properly, if it doesn't differentiate you in the market, it's also not going to do you as much good as it could.
That's true.
So I ended up asking this gentleman, I said, do you think you could write a book about it? He said, yeah, probably.
Really? Okay.
And he had all this expertise and knowledge that was stored, all this valuable expertise that he wasn't doing anything with. And he didn't realize just how valuable it was to him to help him differentiate himself in the market. Let me ask you this, David.
Sure, go ahead.
Let me ask you this.
Do you want to switch chairs?
Yeah, no, I'm going to ask you this. So I'm going to interview you now.
Go ahead.
Has anyone ever paid you a compliment and your response was to shrug your shoulders and say, oh, that's nothing?
Probably, sure. Yeah.
We all do it.
Right.
It's natural. It's human condition. We tend to downplay our own accomplishments. And the reason why we do that is because those accomplishments or those strengths that we have, they come so naturally to us, they come so easily to us, that they feel like they're no big deal.
Right.
But when somebody pays you a compliment, what they're essentially telling you is, it may seem easy to you,
right,
but it's a challenge for me.
Right.
And therefore it's valuable to me. So how many times do we do that? And it's happened to me thousands of times. People would say, well, that's pretty cool. And I'd say, yeah, it's nothing. In fact, when I was running my ad agency, my clients would tell me, Michel, this is great. For the first time in our corporate history, we actually have a clear understanding of the unique value that we offer to our customers and clients. And for the longest time, you know what my response was?
What?
The shoulder shrug.
Right.
I don't know, it's just what I do. And so using social, we're going back to the topic of social media, incredibly important tool. You have to use it. And what are you going to put on it?
What are you going to put on it?
What are you going to, how are you going to?
That's a good question. Right. It's a very good question. So you helped this person. Did they end up writing a book, or where did they go with it?
Well, I believe they were no longer. I didn't keep in touch with them. I was working with them through somebody else. So I don't know, but the feedback was exceptionally good.
Right.
They were really pleased. I now know who I do it for, how I do it, why they would hire me, how I position myself. This happened with them, so I could tell you financial advisors that I worked with. I'd spent a day with them, same process, and they said to me, it took me 3 months, I'm sure your audience is going to relate to this, it took me 3 months after this full intensive day of working with them to contact them again. And I thought, I was getting all insecure. I was thinking, oh, you know what, it didn't really work. They didn't like me. They don't want to talk, because they wouldn't take my phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like,
all right.
Oh. And finally, 3 months later, I get in touch with the head of the company. It was a small financial services company, team of, I think, 4 people, 5 people. And I said, it's been so hard to get in touch with you. He said, we've been so busy, and it started the day after you left.
The day after you left?
I said, oh, tell me more. I thought you didn't want to talk to me ever again. He said, no, Michel, let me tell you this. In our business, They say you're doing well if you add about $1 million a month in production, so $12 million a year in production. That's like the benchmark for a company of our size. We did that 3 months in. We can say that as of this past week, we've done that. So we've quadrupled the benchmark, and we really do believe it was because of the work that we did with you. And I said, come on. You know, like, I couldn't believe it. I said, come on. It can't really. He said, absolutely. Because the day after you left, we knew who we were supposed to talk to. We knew who we were supposed to not talk to and waste our time with.
Right.
And we organized our company differently. We had all our roles planned out, and we were very clear about what we were about, why we were about, who we were going to target. And it's the same thing in financial services. Everybody tries to be all things to all people. Knowing who you are not going to talk to is even more important than who you are going to talk to.
Right. I think also, talking a little bit about social media, that sometimes, like social media, you can't do a hard sell on social media. And I'm sure you know this, and I wanted to bring it around to this Mo Monday that you've organized. And Lisa came in the studio, she's seen it, I've seen it. I mean, I don't know how big the group is now, but Motivational Mondays is a series that you've organized. Tell us about that.
Sure. It's something that I started just as a labor of love, because I love to do this. And I realize that so many people have inspirational stories, and they may be real estate agents, they may be advisors, they may be, last time we had somebody who was on who was a university student. And we all have these incredible stories inside us. And I find that, so it's interesting, we're talking about social media, and I am the biggest believer in social media that there is. In fact, if you go to www.momondays.com, it aliases to the Facebook page.
It's all on Facebook.
It's all on Facebook. So it shows you how important I feel that social media is. However, I feel that the more digitally connected we are through Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest we were talking about, the more we are digitally connected, the more we crave the human connection.
Interesting.
And so this is once a month we get together, and right now we're doing it only in Toronto, but I'm looking at expanding it in other cities.
You sent out a survey.
I did, right. Because I've had people, I've had
requests. Did you use Constant Contact for this?
Good point. I did not, and so I should.
But there was some third-party software. I guess you know all the connections.
There was the quickest, easiest survey tool that I had on hand. I was already registered with it, so that's what I used.
Right.
But yeah,
so and it all integrates with Facebook. Everything somehow, right?
Somehow. Yeah. So it all works. It all works.
So right, so you're already looking at expanding this to different cities.
I've had requests from people in Pittsburgh, in Buffalo, in Philadelphia, in Tel Aviv, say, hey, this is a great idea. We want to start this over here. And it's kind of like, if you could imagine a cross between stand-up comedy, because we hold it at a jazz bar, it's great, handheld mic. So cross between stand-up comedy, TED Talks, because they're short, each speaker has 10 minutes, and a night of motivational or inspirational speakers, because everybody's got a powerful story to tell. I talk about how it's a night of, they're real people, real stories, a real inspiration.
Right. Okay. Very good. So just wanted to touch on a couple other things that you've done.
Well,
I thought were interesting.
Get to that, I want to congratulate you on the TV show that you're putting together, because it blends so nicely with what we're talking. We're talking about social media. We're talking about, and you asked me on, we're talking about how do I differentiate myself in the market.
Right.
The best way that we can do that is for people to see who we are as people, our personalities. So things like online, you have a blog, yes, write about what you're passionate about. Get on TV, let people see you, talk about the things that are important to you. So I think it's a great initiative.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback. In fact, when I saw the Motivational Mondays thing, we exchanged emails. Yeah. I still have to get out there, because I was thinking this could be something that could be potentially broadcasted.
I would like to talk to you about that.
Yeah. So there's something worth exploring. Now, you have spoken at a couple of major real estate conferences. One is the Real Estate Institute of Canada's national conference, as well as an annual conference of a major national U.S.
in the
real
U.S.
estate
That's right.
company.
That was fun in New Orleans a couple of years ago.
Right.
I spoke there. That was fun. And again, so I'm not one of those people who specializes in the real estate market, and nor do I think I should be or want to be, because what I feel is that it is, yes, there are some things that are unique to real estate, and they're not hard to understand what they are, and at the same time, there are things that all of us as human beings, we crave, we are unique individuals. How do we get that message across?
I wanted to ask you about this. You wrote a chapter called Everything Starts with a Conversation. It was selected as the lead for a book, Sales Gurus Speak Out. What does that mean? Everything starts with a conversation.
It means if my mother never had a conversation with my father, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, that's certainly true.
And if you don't have conversations with your potential clients,
it's not necessarily true, but it's
you're right.
Okay.
So
you haven't seen some of the bars I've gone to. Anyway, that's
so speaking of bar, sidebar, they met in an elevator in France about 10 years after the war.
Right.
I say greatest elevator speech he's ever given.
I bet.
They never, you know, they never even went to the top floor. That's right.
Yeah.
No, everything starts with the conversations. We have to find traditional ways to have conversations with our prospects at live events, live networking events, at the social gatherings we go to. How do we talk about what it is that we do in a way that doesn't sound salesy?
Right.
When you go to a wedding, a confirmation, bar mitzvah, whatever it is, people say, hey, what are you doing? You know, well, I help high net worth individuals leverage their assets over,
so
sales pitch.
How to have a conversation
how to have a conversation.
And also to take the chance. I mean, I didn't write the chapter, but what comes to mind is that some people should be getting out more, whether it's motivational Mondays or because you're definitely not going to drum up any business sitting at home and watching TV.
Absolutely.
But if you're out and you're networking and you're talking and learning about people and sharing information, then you stand a chance.
And because we're talking about online media, you can start a conversation online.
That's true.
Through your social media. And again, I'm so glad Lisa was here. She talked about you can start a conversation by putting what I call a provocative question in people's head by email.
Right.
And say, want to continue this conversation? Call me. So there's so many ways now. We're lucky because there's so many ways that we can actually get that conversation going. And there are some people who think social media is it. And for those people, I say, don't forget, people still crave the live connection. And for those people who say, you have to be live, and I say, no, there are countless examples of people effective with social media where you could start that conversation that way.
We're moving in a week, and we're not getting cable in our new house. We decided no cable.
Good for you.
I think that, we'll save a couple of bucks, no harm in that. But I just find that it's this place in our room. It's like people go into the family room, they turn on the table, and they might as well be putting some morphine or something, and then I went to talk to somebody in my family, and they said, I'm watching my show, and it's it's got to stop. So. I mean, and if you want to watch video, you know as well as I do with social media and everything else, it's all there, and you can get the stuff that you want when you want. So this is an experiment, and I'm excited about it. It will give me more time to come out to Mo Mondays.
Monday, generally it's the last Monday of the month. This coming August, it's going to be August 20th. It's at a place in Midtown Toronto. Great
Is it always in the same place, or do you move it around?
We hope it's always in the same place, as long as people keep eating and drinking and keeping the venue happy, because we've all got to make a living, right? We all have to make a living, and we love it there, and it's great. And like I said, we're expanding. If people are interested in having me bring this to their town, let me know. I love doing this. It's a real people, real stories, real inspiration. Can't beat it.
All starts with the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're talking with Michel Neray. You can find out more about him and you can connect with him on
Michel.
Michel.
You know what? And this usually happens when I go into the yes, that's right. Okay. I go into the U.S. I say, "Hi, my name's Michel Neray." They say, "How you doing, Michael?"
Right.
They can't hear.
Okay, Michel. Thanks, Michel. Michel Neray, Neray.com.
Absolutely.
Or theessentialmessage.com. Or Mondays.com. Take you right into the Facebook page. It's been great having you, and also thanks to Lisa Kember for joining with us. If you want to find out more about starting your own show, you can go to mortgagetube.ca and find out more about that, and also more about my mortgage business if you need help arranging a mortgage of any kind. Let me know. I'll have to have a talk with Michel about that and get that niche down. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thanks, Lior, for running the show here, and we'll see you next time here on Keeping It Real. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Get that niche.